In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to mask XML data using DataVeil. Before we start configuring masks, let's take a quick look at the XML data so we understand what we're trying to mask. This is a simple XML document that represents a fictitious staffing roster. You can see that the first node shows who the manager will be for this shift, and it happens to be John Smith. Next we see a node for Monday, and that shows who'll be working the morning shift and who'll be working the afternoon shift. Notice that all of the names are stored in a standard name node structure that contains the given or first name, family or surname, last name, and a full name field that may contain a title or other names, or however the full name is to be displayed for that person. For example, John Smith has his full name showing as Mr. John Smith, whereas for Susan Williams, the title or prefix has been omitted and instead her middle name Anne has been included, so her full name shows as Susan Anne Williams. However, in the afternoon shift, Susan Williams' full name will display as Ms. Susan Williams. So a title has been added and her middle name Anne has been dropped. Okay, so we have some repeating data here that we do want to mask consistently, such as making sure that all instances of John are masked consistently and that Smith is masked consistently. But we also need to recognize that there may be other data such as titles, Mr. and Ms, and ideally not to replace those with names. In other words, keep Mr. as Mr, Ms as Ms, and so on. So in this table, I have the XML record that we just reviewed. You can also view the XML in the DataVeil data browser, but because SQL is a relational database, the XML record is shown on a single row. One thing I want to point out is that in the data browser you can see that the XML is getting truncated. That's because the display default maximum string length is 100 characters, which is usually enough for regular data in a relational database. So let's just change that to 1,000 characters so that we can see more of the XML data, although it's still on one line, as you can see. So let's start by creating an XML mask. Before I go on, just remember that there is a help button in the bottom corner that fully describes how to use this mask, including examples and some common useful XPath patterns. So let's start with masking the given name John. You could define a full path /roster/manager/name/given, but as you can imagine, this can be quite tedious, laborious, and error-prone, especially if you're going to go ahead and define separate paths for every occurrence of given. If you have many nodes with the same tag name, such as given, that you want masked consistently, then it's easier to just use the recursive XPath operator //. So we'll do that. And that's all you need to do to select all nodes with the tag name of given. And now we select the mask that we want to use. Let's choose person given name mask. Okay, let's do a quick preview to see what happens. In the data browser, you can see the first original given name John has now become Wayne. But what about the other instances of John? To make things easier, instead of scrolling through the XML record on a single line, I'll switch to showing you the before and after XML records as formatted text in the Notepad++ application. As you can see, all instances of John in the given nodes have been masked to Wayne. In case you're wondering, having John Wayne appear in this demo is purely coincidental. We haven't yet created masks for family and full, and that's why John in the full node hasn't been updated. So let's get everything masking consistently by adding the masks for the family and full nodes. So now we can see that John has been masked everywhere, including in the full name node. Also notice that titles such as Mr. and Ms. were recognized by the full name mask as not a name, and so those were preserved. This is just a function of the person full name mask, and you can refer to the documentation for that for specifics on how that works. Now that we have all of the person name node values being masked, let's finish off this demo by masking the node attribute empID. This attribute starts with a character followed by some digits. We'll use the randomized mask for that, and let's assume that it's desirable to preserve the first character and just mask the remaining digits. To modify the attribute of a node, first define the XPath to the node itself as before, except now choose attribute from the modify combo box, and then specify the attribute name beginning with the @ symbol. And now we have consistently masked the empID attribute. A389 has gone to A391, and A134 has gone to A369. And that concludes this demo of how to mask XML data using DataVeil. I hope you found this useful. For more information, please visit www.dataveil.com.